Winter arrived quietly this year. The kind of winter that doesn't make a big entrance, it just shows up one morning and decides to stay. 3 years ago, I came to France without knowing I was moving here. It was December, and technically I still lived somewhere else. I was still married. This was supposed to be a chapter in my life, not the whole book. We had bought this house as a kind of dream project, a place to escape to decorate slowly, to visit. The strange thing is, by the time my life fell apart, the house was already full. The previous owners left almost everything: cupboards, tables, wardrobes, beds. Their life pressed against the walls of mine. I moved into a place where every room already had a story, and none of it was mine. In February, I went back to Germany for one night that changed everything. I won't go into details, but the marriage ended. And somewhere deep down I knew, if I didn't turn around and drive back to France now, I might never give myself this chance again. So I drove back, into a house that wasn't quite mine, into a life I hadn't planned, and into a version of myself I hadn't met yet. Since then, I've been doing what I always seem to do, starting over, reinventing myself, learning how to live inside a story that didn't go the way I thought it would. Today, I work here with a borrowed dog asleep on a sofa I didn't choose, in rooms that slowly, very slowly, are becoming mine. This isn't a story about a perfect move to the French countryside. It's a story about what happens when life falls apart, you drive towards the only place that feels right, and you decide to build a home there anyway. Welcome to Life with Amadeus, 3 years in France, and what this half château has taught me about life. When I first arrived in rural France, the stillness felt like a gift. I had spent my whole life in cities: Frankfurt, Düsseldorf, the rhythm of trams, airports, people everywhere. I loved that life. Or at least I thought I did. But somewhere along the way I realized I was surrounded by people, yet lonelier than ever. So when I came here, the silence didn't scare me. It felt like something I had been craving without knowing it. I discovered very quickly that the countryside isn't actually silent. It has its own orchestra, shutters banging in a storm, the wind circling the house, distant tractors, owls screeching through summer nights. Those sounds, they don't make you sick the way traffic and airplanes do. They just remind you that you're a part of something alive. Stillness gave me space, more space than I had ever had. Space to reflect, to question, to ask myself what I wanted my life to be, even though I still don't always know the answer. The truth is, it wasn't always peaceful. Sometimes stillness is confronting. It asks you to hear your own voice, and sometimes that voice is scared, or sad, or unsure. I've been a dancer my whole life, surrounded by colleagues who felt like family. You grew up together in that world, everyone far from home, everyone holding each other. Leaving that environment leaves a kind of echo, a loneliness that doesn't come from being alone, but from missing the closeness you once lived inside. But here, in this stillness, something shifted. I started hearing my thoughts more clearly. Not the noise of a city, not the expectations of others, just myself. And maybe that's what stillness really is. Not emptiness, not loneliness, just the space to finally listen to the life you're meant to build. If there's one lesson this house taught me the hard way, it's this. Don't rush home. Let imperfection live for a while. Let a place speak before you try to shape it. When I look back now, my biggest regret, and regret is a big word, is renovating the entire second floor too quickly. At the time I was terrified I wouldn't be able to support myself through dance or art, so I rushed. I built 2 bathrooms, I divided rooms with stud walls, I tried to turn the house into a B&B before I even knew how I wanted to live here. And it worked for a moment, it brought income, but it didn't bring me peace. I loved hosting, I really did, but I realized I didn't want strangers living so close to me, so close to my personal space, so close to the parts of this house that still felt so raw. So little by little, I started reclaiming the space. I turned the smallest bedroom upstairs into my office, a place for editing, for working, for breathing. The green room is becoming a living/workout room, a flexible space that feels like mine. And the large guest room, that one stays, a place for people I love, for festival artists, for friends, not because I need guests, but because the house feels good when it welcomes the right people. The real shift happened on the first floor. For the first time I renovated for myself, not for guests, not for bookings, not for an imaginary future that needed me to be successful immediately. Opening that double door changed everything. It made me realize that for 2 years, I had been trying to make this house work for everyone else except for me. I tiptoed around my own life here, afraid of taking up space in my own home. Now I sit in this half-renovated petit salon and I finally understand the value of waiting. Living with things unfinished shows you what actually matters, how a room behaves, where the light falls, what the house wants to be, and what you want to be inside it. Limited funds can be frustrating. I would love to fill the place with beautiful antiques, but maybe it's good that I can't, because it forces me to be creative, to bring damaged things back to life, to choose carefully, slowly, intentionally. Homes that feel real aren't built in a year. They're shaped over decades, sometimes centuries. And this house, it's teaching me to be patient, to do the important things, the windows, the doors, the bones, and to let the rest unfold in its own time. Maybe letting imperfection live was the first step to finally living here myself. When I turned the car around in February and drove back to France, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: certainty. It didn't make logical sense. My marriage had just ended. Everything felt like it was collapsing and unfolding at the same time. But I knew, with that strange quiet knowing you can't reason with, that this was the path I needed to follow. I'm someone who believes you have to go with the flow of life. Fight it too much and you break. But if you follow the current, sometimes it carries you exactly where you need to be. The hardest part wasn't the divorce. It wasn't even the house. It was learning how to live alone again. After 10 years of sharing a life, suddenly it was just me, in this big, half-finished house, responsible for everything. I did what I've always done in difficult moments. I asked myself, what's the worst that could happen? And even in the worst case scenario, I realized I'd still be okay, because I'm privileged. I was born in Europe, my parents worked hard to build a life for us. I've always had a safety net, even when life felt unstable. What surprised me most was the community here. I found more connection in this tiny village than I ever did in big cities. I was welcomed, really welcomed, into French life. Most of my friends here are French. People show up for each other in a way that cities sometimes forget. And then the festival. I never expected people to be so curious about contemporary dance in rural France. But they are. The festival grew, it was subsidized, it became part of the local culture, and somehow I was at the center of it, creating art in a place I didn't even know I would live. I've renovated almost this entire house with my own 2 hands. When I rebuilt the first floor structure in 7 weeks all alone, I think that's the first time I understood what I'm capable of. When I look back at these 3 years, I'm proud. Not in a loud way, in a soft, quiet way. A way that says, I did this. I built a life from nothing but courage, naivety, and the belief that things could be okay. Because that's what building a life from scratch really is. Showing up every day, even when you're exhausted, even when you're scared, even when the house is cold and your heart is tired. It's allowing yourself to begin again, to be grateful even on bad days, to notice the people who choose to share their lives with you, to believe that happiness can grow in unexpected places if you let it. And somehow, in these 3 years, I learned that I'm capable of more than I ever thought.
Free flowing, sailing with the wind, not knowing how this story ends. Kind and brave, I know you'll find a way. Live your truth,